No, it's in 16. So this goes before the election. Okay, so this is 2015. And I have a whole detail of this coming in, but we're just going to look at it. With Pluto, no big confrontation, no power struggles. So 2015, 2016, 2017, during the president got in, 2018, 2019, nothing from Pluto. No big power confrontations reaching him. Got away with it, no challenges. So you think, wow, well, he's challenged a lot of people, but he hasn't been affected, other than shutting down the government. But look, as soon as he gets into 2020, next year, 2020 is the next election, Pluto comes up and squares his Venus, confronts his finances and emotions. We haven't got that Pluto squared, Pluto conjunct would square to Saturn just before this. So this year was Pluto. You can see the house and the government squaring him, and the difficulty of what he's doing, and the polarization, or the nasty politics, the anger. But the Pluto hit the Saturn first, but really, we're looking at hit the Venus. This is finances, emotions. This is where he's insecure. He's got a controller. He wants to have his mud, but he wants to have control. He wants to build his wall. He's got to build a wall. So Pluto's forcing issues. Not now. By the end of the year, 2020, before the election, he's going to force the issue to try and make this wall or do something. He's going to force it. But this forcing it at the same time, Pluto is the auditor. People are going to be auditing his books and trying to audit what's financially, what he's doing, what's money, what's happening. And there's going to be really challenges around his emotions and his financial set, very threatened. Okay, that's just the start of something. It comes up for 3 or 4 months, really difficult. Then it comes along, then there's the election, September, October, November. No big problems right then, it's glossed over. But right after that, Pluto hits the Venus, squares the Venus, all of 2021 and 2022. So there's confrontation about money and power. So it's like the auditor comes in, the judgment comes in, everybody starts looking at where you are and what you're doing, what was right or what was wrong. With Pluto, if he was doing anything wrong, it's going to be found out and seen. So you look at it and say, whoa, it's possible. They don't want impeachment. They're going to find things, more and more issues, but they're going to delay it till after the election. At the end of the election, if he doesn't win it, boom, there'll be heavy, heavy legal things and confrontations coming in. Even if he does win it, there still will be these heavy confrontations coming in around this. But this is a point this is really darkness. His worst case scenario, if he doesn't win, then he's not above the law anymore. He can't pardon himself and things. Then he becomes much more vulnerable. And when Pluto's hits Venus, it's going to have cost him a lot. Where he thought he made benefits around being president, made deals, there's going to be harshness coming in from this Pluto. Financial cost, emotional cost. So, I mean, it's possible that could be his wife leaves or something, or there's another divorce or something, but it's possible this could be much bigger than this, involve all his dealings. If there was criminal things involved with other countries and other things, if it could come up, he's not going to have friends helping him very much when Pluto's squaring the Venus. So if he loses power, he's going to have trouble regaining balance in the period right after that, just from the Pluto. Okay. We look at Neptune, planet of great visions and schemes and dreams, 2015, 16, no real delusion, deception. I mean, this whole campaign seemed that, but it's not happening from the transits. Even 19, no, nothing there. It doesn't start coming until 2020. And then through all of 2021, Neptune squares the moon. And of course, it will start to square the sun shortly thereafter to 22, and 22. So Neptune square the moon and square the sun, that's deception and confusion around family, distortion, confusion around family, around home. Maybe it's moving out of the White House, maybe trying to find, maybe have to move into his own places. What's going on? Like, there's a lot of confusion and sorrow here. And that can affect health, it can affect family members. So he has big problems starting in 2020 that escalate through 21, 22. Enough big personal problems that they're going to affect his functional capacity. These are coming from, it's the Pluto square, the Neptune square is coming from the 7th house, relationships to the sun and the moon, it's squaring the sun and moon. And But Neptune is very disoriented and confusing. It can be fanatically deceptive or really pathetically lost. He has a strong Neptune. So what happens if he starts going senile in office? Whoa. What happens if he already is and we don't know it yet? There's weaknesses to health and things coming in during that time with the Neptune. What if he drinks too much? Or I'm not sure. Like when you're thinking for the worst, you think the worst, but you see this piling up. If there's been nothing, no big things, nothing huge and unstoppable, no big confrontation, no big guilt and sorrows coming up, he's been getting away with things. It stopped since 2020. At the end of this year, going into next year, he's not looking glamorous. He's not looking popular, Pluto to the Venus. He's not looking reliable, Neptune square the moon. So the guilts, the sorrows, things build up really strongly, and they're building up for here. So if he gets in, that whole next term will be that. If he doesn't, it's just how he's reorienting what happens after that. What's next, he doesn't know. Okay. So far, how could there be nothing going on while so much has happened over these couple of years? How he's affected so many people's lives for the last 3 years? Well, he certainly disrupted his affairs with other countries, Mexico, Canada, England. He's certainly made America look unreliable in the world. So they're not a reliable partner. And he's pulling everyone out from international affairs. So America is losing its international status in the same way that Britain lost its control of its empire because it was too costly. It fell apart. Everything's rebelling. It changed. So this is him, not the country. It's him running the country. Okay, country has its own chart. So we'll just move on. Like we see Pluto and Neptune, and he hasn't had it yet, and he's got these things. We figure, how's he getting away with things? When you see it building up from 2020 on, it's not getting any easier. Right now, it's still the calm before the storm. We still have a year to get through without him really being interfered with. No Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, no aspects in 2019. No, just Mars, Jupiter. That doesn't mean that's still aggressive, pushy things, but it's not the big, heavy things. If there were breakthroughs, and there'd be conjunctions. So 2016, when he got elected, Saturn was conjunct his moon, but it was opposing the sun. So okay, we'll take I want to do Uranus before we get to the sudden shocks or letdowns for reliability. So he's running for election. He gets elected in December 2016. No Uranus problems. The minute he's elected, January 2017, shortly thereafter there starts to be financial and emotional shocks. Uranus shocks Venus. Well, this is people doing his finances that break away from him that weren't reliable. And then eases off again into the hole, the end of 2017 and 20, this lost finances, the shocks came in. It was like neurotic. There was shocks to emotions and finances. And like people letting him down. This is the equivalent of a heartbreak or a divorce or a bankruptcy. Not bankruptcy, running a company, but this stuff is going on. People are letting him down. People are quitting his office. More people have quit his office than anybody that's ever worked for president. There's more people dropped off. And you could say people have gone to the legal commissions and traded in stories or whatever after they've been rejected. But he was personally, emotionally let down during these things. So I didn't do any due diligence in trying to go, let's go and see what this is. I didn't want to be, but we can see the alertness to this. So let's, okay, I think I have something that's more detailed here. Let's see if we can find something. This over, this back here. Okay, and I want to go down. Yeah, okay. I think one of these has really strong details. Yeah, okay, here we go. The long details in 2017-18. So let's just go take a look at this. Uranus squaring his Venus, April, May 2017. FBI confirmed there's an investigation going on into his ties with him in the Russia campaign. and Trump fires Comey. So that's the first Uranus square Venus. That's a breakup. That's not a good thing. That's a direct loss. He lost a supporter. Shortly after he fired him in May, they opened an investigation of whether he had been working on behalf of the Russian agents against American interest. Okay, 2017, the former director, FBI director Robert Mueller, is appointed as the Mueller investigation started. So that was the beginning of this investigation that started shaking him, making him vulnerable. Not a small thing. He was caught right at the beginning. Like, that's already a big shock, more than now. May departs the first foreign troop as president, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Vatican, and by June, he proclaims the United States is withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accords. So, and then the next month meets with Vladimir Putin in an unrecorded, I think that's the unrecorded session. So you see the disruptive things happening. The Mueller affair got set in motion. Comey got the FBI director, the president's firing people, firing the FBI director, putting down the intelligence. He's going against the intelligence of the country. Who knows if people are going to get what military things are repercussions have fallen off that we don't know. It's not talked about. But it's not a small thing. And then it comes back from September till March of 2018. So let's just look ahead a little bit here. And that's a little tedious, but this is the tediousness of doing your astrology work. So we're going back to 2017. Okay, September, they unveiled the third version of the travel ban on Muslim countries. And then in December, Trump recognizes Jerusalem as Israel's capital. He refers to Haiti as a shithole country. And and it came out in January that he had the affair with a porn star named Stephanie Clifford, Stormy Daniels. So Uranus squares Venus, that fits that. He's married, but he had the affair and he paid it off, $130,000. That's still a big issue. That's part of the, do we impeach him? You know, they got things around that. By March, he's fired the Secretary of State. Let's see, and that the Supreme Court judged that a defamation lawsuit against Trump can move forward. So, and let's see, what is it? Adopting a policy banning the White House says it's adopting a policy banning transgender individuals from the military. So that, like, he's created he broke a lot of patterns of what he wanted broke. He's disrupted things, but those are big shocks for a presidency. Okay, and there's not, okay, as we go forward, that's it. Those are the big, so those big shocks, Venus, square to Venus, that's once every 21 years, 22 years. Those are big shocks and emotions. It changed. It changed the nature of his presidency right there. It stopped. He wasn't able to do just what he wanted. He got shook. He got caught. Then he's damaged control during that. After that, there's no more sudden shocks. There's no more big sudden disruptions about what he's doing and what he's not doing. Uranus has played a function. It's not hitting anything else over the next 19, 20, 21, 22. It's not playing a role in the next election. So it's not a sudden shock. If he loses the next election, it's not going to be by any sudden shock. Okay. Now, we're going to go. Now we looked at the three biggies that cause the big disruptions. We see they haven't been active. Surprisingly, Uranus was, and when we saw it, yeah, the Stormy Daniels, the dropping this, yeah, like key disruptions are normally the support of a president.